I really enjoy peonies in the springtime, and these Ito peonies have been such a joy to watch as they bloom and the flowers shift in color. These are a hybrid of our herbaceous peonies that we commonly see in the garden and the more upright tree peony. And today I'm really excited to introduce tree peonies to our studio garden. Tree peonies originated in China, where they were traditionally used as a medicinal plant long before they became a popular ornamental plant. Today we commonly see them in Asian themed gardens and also as a specimen in a shady location. Now the tree peony is a little bit different from our herbaceous ones because it has woody stems, and those woody stems will remain over the winter. And that's the main difference between the herbaceous and tree peony. The flowers on the tree peony also can grow a little bit larger. Now, despite the name, tree peonies are actually more of a medium-sized shrub. They grow to a size of about 3 to 5 feet. Now, when we're planting tree peonies, we want to pay careful attention to our site conditions. Tree peonies don't require a great amount of maintenance as long as you take the time to find them an ideal site. They don't like to be transplanted. So when you're looking for a place to plant your tree peony, you want to consider competition from other plants, soils, light, and also exposure to wind. Now, tree peonies do not like to compete with larger trees and shrubs. They just don't compete as well. They won't perform as well if they have a lot of root competition. So you want to look for a site that's free of this type of competition. You also want to consider the soils. Tree peonies tolerate a wide range of soil conditions. Ideally, they'll perform best in neutral to slightly alkaline soils. Now, we have a lot of these in Oklahoma, so that's good for us. We also have a lot of clay, and tree peonies will do well in clay. They'll take a little bit longer to establish, but clay soils are very nutrient rich because of those small particles. They have a lot of binding sites for the nutrients that plants require. And so clay soils are very rich. But one thing we need with tree peonies is good drainage, and that can be a challenge with our clay soils. So you might consider amending your soil to both increase the organic matter and improve that drainage. The next thing we want to consider is light. In most climates, tree peonies will perform very well in any type of light condition, but here in Oklahoma, we have some really intense, hot, sunny days in the summer. So we're going to want to find a site where we get a little bit of shade from the afternoon sun, either dappled shade throughout the entire day or a combination of morning sun and afternoon shade will be very ideal for our tree peonies. These plants are extremely hardy. They grow in zones 4 through 9, but in Oklahoma we're going to want to give them a little bit of protection from those heavy winds. So it's a good idea to find a location that has some trees, either a building or even a big mass of shrubs to the west to give a little bit of protection from those winds. Now, we plant tree peonies typically from a bare root specimen, and these will come in either in the fall or in the springtime. A lot of time bare root plants are shipped in peat like this that's damp, and that keeps the root system wet, a little bit moist. So you want to shake that off, and we're going to set this plant into the ground. Now this is a couple of years old. It has a nice strong root system and several shoots coming up. Some of the woody branches, and you can see they're just starting to open. This came down from New Jersey, so it's a little bit behind our local plants. Now you want to start by preparing your planting hole, and it's a good idea to prepare your hole ahead of time so that when your plant arrives, you're ready to go. And we've already prepared our hole, and look at how deep this is. We've dug a hole that's 2 feet deep, and you want a hole that's at least 1 foot wide, but when you're digging that deep, it's hard to stay real narrow. Just like any plant, a wide planting hole will help that tree peony to establish really well. Now, I mentioned amending soils, and I usually don't amend soil when I plant just about anything, but our friend Kathleen at Peonies Envy, she has a lot of heavy clays just like us, and she recommended that we go ahead and amend our soil. So I've taken her advice, and she has a lot more experience with this than I do. And as I was digging my planting hole, what I did was I separated the soil that came out of the bottom layer and that came out of the top layer. So the bottom foot of soil, I got a little bit of peat in here, but you could see it's a little bit more higher clay content. You see that stick together pretty well. And then over here we have the topsoil, which under this canopy of trees is much more, has a lot more organic matter. It's a bit darker, a little bit richer. So we separated those. And now we're ready to amend these soils. And we're going to prepare two different mixtures, one for the bottom hole, the bottom of the hole, and one for the top. And what we've done for the bottom is I've mixed together 3 different materials. The original soil and also some rock dust. And these are real fine gravel dust you could get from a stone yard. And then I also put in some compost. And this will add a lot of that organic matter. The compost and the rock dust will also help improve that drainage. So for the bottom of the hole, I mixed 3 parts of our organic matter, 2 parts of the rock dust, and 1 part of our native topsoil. And I'm going to go ahead and backfill the bottom of the hole with this. Our tree peony won't quite reach to the roots are short enough that they're not going to get to that bottom part. But what this is going to do is create a great base that's going to drain really well and give our tree peony the habitat that it needs for the roots to develop. Now, rock dust also sometimes is not ideal for a lot of plants because it does alter the pH, but it makes it more alkaline, and that's beneficial for our tree peony. So we're not concerned about that. We're now ready for our topsoil mixture, and this is equal parts of our native topsoil, our compost, and our rock dust. So I mixed a 1-to-1-to-1 ratio for this. And I'm going to use this to fill the upper layer and fill in around the plant. Now, we want to set our tree peony fairly deep in the hole. What we do is we look for the root collar, and then we plant it 2 inches above that. So the surrounding soil level when we finish will be 2 inches above that root collar. And so I like to hold it in the hole to get an idea of how deep that'll be. I could use a little bit of fill, and then I'll start filling in around the plant. And I'll put a little bit of extra and just push it to the sides. Okay, so really take the time to find that level so that you get it in the proper depth. Okay, and as you fill in, one of the things I like to do is push the soil inside that empty space in amongst the roots so that that area gets filled well with the topsoil. Okay, we're going to get that nicely packed in, and then again we're going to fill and we're going to bury that upper part of our plant. It feels a little deep, but what it'll do is promote some good shoot development in that upper area. We'll get some good branching, and then with the tree peony you could decide how many branches you want to keep up here. You could prune it back, or you could allow it to get a little more bushy. Now, as with any plant, we want to keep it well watered and water it in, but we want to do a good job of watering our tree peony for the first 2 years while it establishes a real healthy fibrous root system. This will help it withstand any drought conditions that we might have and allow it to get to a really mature, strong plant. In the first couple of years, don't expect many large flowers. You might get a few smaller ones, but in the 3rd season, we should get those large tree peony flowers we're looking for. With proper care, our tree peony will last us for several decades.